Evening today. It's Tuesday, the 3rd of August, and time is absolutely flying by. Time. We got to make time for doing a lot of things today at our workplace, at our home, and not forgetting the most important thing. Well, the second most important thing after our deen is our community. Our community has all the power, but how do we unleash that power? You know, people often think that it is your local councillor or your MP or your city council who are the boss. I'll tell you something. I want to share with you that you in the community are the boss. That is, if you come together with all the other members of the community in this diverse 40 plus community. 40 plus means not 40, 41, 42. It means the 40 different diversities in this city. And today I have my good friend. Well, I think he's my friend. I'm not too sure about that. Sometimes he's smiling at me. Sometimes he's giving me the evil eye. Of course, Brother Kirk Master, it's good to have you in the studio. You know, it's been a long time. It's about 3 years, 2 days that we were last in the studio with yourself and the then former police commissioner, Willie
back, yeah, Assalamu alaikum, yeah. And thank you for having me. It's not been that long.
I think it was 2 years ago. 2 years ago,
yeah. Maybe 2 years ago. But then obviously we've had a long period out with COVID.
Yeah, so 1 year is just gone, wiped out. March 2020 to March 21. Let's forget about it. It did not come.
It's been a tough period for the whole city, well, the whole country, obviously, and nationally as well. But, you know, Leicester, as it always does, comes to the top, does its thing, and, you know, we've got through it.
Yeah, well,
still got some work to do, but
100 years ago, we had the Spanish flu. Now, another 100 years' time, after you and I are long gone, this whole period is going to be written about, talked about, it's going to be digitally documented, and the whole history, I hope that the human beings of tomorrow will learn from this history.
Well, if you're not learning, you're not living, are you? That's what I was told. So, you know, every day is a life lesson. So we've got to take something from these experiences.
Yeah. Of course, Mr. Kirk Master, I've been summoned by the studio here to request kindly if you can come forward to the mic. Your mic is your best friend when you're in the studio here with Drivetime.
I dared move it because it's kind of joint to yours, and I didn't want to take you off your...
It's totally new technology here. You just got to lift it up higher. That's it. You know, you swing it up to your height and you'll be all right.
Is that better?
Yeah. Previously, the person who was sat there on that chair, he was 5'4", and you're strapping 5'9". So there's a big difference in the mic, you know, the levels. Yeah?
I'd like the 5'9", actually, more 5'7", but yeah, I'll take that as a compliment. That might be the best I get today off you.
Of course. Now, we're going off track a little bit there. We're going to today discuss about some of the many bows you have to your strings, yeah, in the council, in the city council. How long have you been a city councillor?
Oh, this is my second term, so 5.5 years.
5.5 years. That is quite some time, you know, for a young man like that.
Yeah, it was kind of, God, the way I fell into politics was bizarre in itself, to be honest. It was something that never crossed my radar, never even anticipated being in that space, to be honest. It was just a chance conversation. Things developed, an opportunity became available. There was some other councillors local to my area that were retiring, and I said if I wanted to do it, I wanted to do it where it was going to be impactful for me locally, where I grew up.
Of course, that is interesting, the word you mentioned, retire, because sometimes I wonder if that word exists in our political fraternity, right? I often look at the DNA issues and I look at the ancestral politicians. They just don't want to go. They're here forevermore.
Yeah, I get that, but then you have to remember, in politics, especially at a local level, it's harder for youngsters to be involved because they're going through education, they're in employment, and it's very difficult to be an elected member and have a full-time job. So it kind of is always suited by default. Somebody that's retired, has more time on their hands, a bit more elderly, not so dependent on looking for incomes or generating incomes, because you don't get a wage as a local politician, as a local councillor. It just doesn't happen. So it kind of by default then leads to an elder kind of generation taking up those slots. But things are changing. Things are changing.
Of course, here's a question for all of you in the city that are listening in right now on Haj Radio. How many councillors do we have in the city council? There's a question for you. Whoever will text me or ring me and let me know, then you're going to get a pat on the back, because you will know something that 80% of the people don't know in the city, right? Knowledge is your power. So I want you all to step up your game and get on that Google and learn how many councillors there is. And if you got a bit of more spare time, start learning about all their names and which wards they represent, how many parts, how many constituencies there is in the city. Become politically aware. Don't sit inside. Come outside the fence. Get involved. You get involved, you'll make a difference. So all of you listening in right now, get to know your city. Get to know how many people live in this city, how many diversities we have in the city, how many languages are spoken in the city, right? The more we know, the better we can work together as a community, right? And we can then close the bridges between the communities.
Agree. 100%. I mean, the politics, you spoke about a younger demographic being involved in politics. The only way we're going to change politics in this city is by more people getting involved in it. And you have to be involved in it. I'm not telling you to align to any political party. Just get involved in politics. That's how you can make change. That's how you can see things happen. And your vote is important. It's very
Of course,
important.
one recent Hamilton by-election for the councillor, the turnout was miserable.
16%.
It makes me cry. 16% in an area which is densely populated,
Yeah.
Hamilton. If all of you will check on the Google how many people live in there, and only 16% came out to vote. And then after that, you got to start looking at the people that came out to vote, the party that won that seat, and you got to really get familiar with the demographic. If you know, you'll get involved because you'll want to know more. And it's very important for you to do that, because the balance in our city is very important to have. And, if now at this moment in the city council, just enlighten the people listening out there how many councillors there are. So somebody texts me, but they've got the wrong answer there.
There's 54.
54, and they said 50 on the text message. Sorry about that. You were 4 out. Yeah. Maybe 4 he didn't like, and he didn't.
Maybe 4 he's never seen before.
Never seen before, and he said,
"Could be possible."
All you had to do was go on the Google and check." But he just did a wild guess there. And there's another text message here saying that, can you ask our brother Kirk Masters if the POA is still happening in our politics? Of course, first you better text me again and tell me what is POA, because I do the acronyms, so please don't take over my job.
POA, yeah. Well, I'm not sure what that is. It could stand for a few things, actually.
He will
get the right one.
Yeah, I know. It's POA. It's price on application.
Price?
On application. That's what I think it means. What do you think it means?
I don't know. I'd never have guessed that. What's price on application?
Well, sometimes you ask and you fill a form in and you want to view a house, and they will say to you, POA means price on application, right? Okay. But he's going to send me a text back saying what he means about that.
Yeah, and let's be safe about
that's
what
right.
that means.
Now, a lot of these guys who are listening in right now, and they might know me, they might know you, and they fire in these questions. Some of these are test questions. Yeah. Some of these are those questions that take you astray, and some of these are questions that are asked to kind of take the mickey, out of me or out of you. But we can take it.
We're big enough.
We're big enough. We can take it.
We can take it.
We're here in the community to work together. So sometimes we give, sometimes we take. And it's all about give and take in the community, isn't it?
In our roles, you have to take the good with the bad.
That's right.
It comes with the territory, unfortunately, and it is what it is, and you learn to just deal with it, not be reactive in an emotional way. So, and sometimes people that's their way in. They feel that's the only way they know how to start communication and open channels. So.
He's just sent a text message back. POE he means politics of appeasement.
Politics of appeasement. Okay, that's a big subject.
That's what he's put in there right now. By that, I can tell that is a serious player in the community.
Yeah.
He knows things that I don't know.
I haven't heard that term before.
Yeah, POA.
So I might pinch that.
Yeah. these acronyms have gone berserk all over the city.
And you're world famous for those.
Yeah, and you know, these new ones keep coming up every day, right? POA in our business world, it's price on application, and now he's created a new one, politics of appeasement, right? So here he's probably talking about, often people, they don't want to come live on the phone and they'll send a text, and which I can appreciate and understand. They don't like coming out in the open on a telephone call. And it is good if they do phone us. We can have a bit of a banter, can't we?
Yeah, it's all good. There must be a purpose to the question in terms of an experience or what they see nationally or locally. So it's really hard to put it down to whatever the specifics are. But I get the point.
We got to really step on, because we're going to talk about knife crime. We're going to talk about the low wages. A lot of press, again, about low wages. And we need to obviously tie all that up with community development and the youth. 50% of our population in the city is under the age of 35. Is that a correct spec?
It's something
stat.
Around there.
It's around there, right?
I think the 2001 census that's being done, which will come out next year, will give us all of these.
Of course, this census don't come out till April, the middle part of April, and that could be on a Thursday or a Wednesday, right? Because the Wednesday and Thursday both fall middle part of April 22, that is. So it's quite a wait, but I can say to you now that whatever you read in Google about the city population in 10 years' time now has probably gone up 20% or 25%. So I'm expecting a figure close on to 492,250. That's my prediction. Maybe it might touch 500.
That's quite an accurate prediction, right down to the last number.
You know, the closest one wins the race, and I need that prize money.
Okay.
So I'll
take that away and see.
Yeah, that figure is, again, I'll repeat that, 492,250. So whoever is 100 close to that, there's a prize for that. So, of course, we don't get too much into that. But this is, what we're saying is that a lot of these young people from that population, but when you look at our 54 councillors and you look at their age demographic, there isn't a reflection there. So more young people from the age, from school, from college, from university, is the time when you come and get involved. All of you students who are doing political science as your major in university, you need to get into the... Here, I'm being distracted here by a message that's just come up here. How can confidence in politicians and political process be improved? Right?
Good question.
It's one for you, I think.
Some obvious answers in that, I think. Yeah. One is these individuals that want to be involved in politics need to join a party. They need to become members of that party, whatever party they decide, whatever they want to do.
I'm particularly encouraging the young people to join the process.
100%.
Right. We're now moving and transcending towards a digital transformed economy. Now, when you're 50, 60, 70, you're not going to adapt to change very easily, right? Your attention to fine detail, as the youngsters are taught today in the digital world, is not going to be there if you're 50, 60 or 70 or 80 years old. So all the young people, they have a different mindset and they are more in tune with the Swifty. Right? Are you familiar with the Swifty?
I've heard you say the term before, but...
Of course, the Swifty, during the month of Ramadan, we learned about the Swifty, which was the Snapchat, WhatsApp, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, and the Y's for the YouTube.
So it's that social media space. I'm not very good at it.
Absolutely. And these youngsters, I remember during the month of Ramadan, we had two of the local councillors on, and a young 19-year-old, he asked them about the Swifty, and they didn't know, I did not know, and he told us something very interesting. He says, look, I'm 19 years old. Why are you wasting money throwing leaflets in the door, which my family and I, my relatives, all my friends, we pick them up and we bin them? Why are you contributing to wastage across the board, you know? You need to communicate with us, you need to use the Swifty. He meant use all the social media platforms to communicate with us.
Yeah.
Right? Now, he was at another level. Being that he was 19, he brought a lot of new ideas on the table. So this is where we are, brothers and sisters. We must...
and that's a good point, because to the first question, how can you create change in those arenas? You have to engage in the process. So let's just say, for argument's sake, a group of people, youngsters, join a political party, and they start attending their branch meetings wherever they are in the city. They can put forward these suggestions.
Here, I'm going to give you some stats, ideas. Brothers and sisters, and all of you listening in. Branch meetings. Where is your local branch? Whether you are yellow, blue, or red, your local branch. When you go to a typical local branch meeting, it is not unknown that very few people attend. If there are 600 members, and you will struggle to even get 30, 40, 50 to attend.
It varies across the city.
It varies, but there is a pretty much average, and this happens across the country, not only the city. And when the big day every 5 years, the national elections come, then everybody wakes up for that week or 2 weeks before. But effective change is not going to happen unless you get involved from day one. So today is not too late. We have 3 more years before the next election, yes?
Yeah, 2023.
Yeah, 23. So even now is a good time to get involved and make that change, because the turnout, even in a national election, is not so good. What is the turnout on average? Around 40 to 48%?
Yeah.
Right? So if 40 to 48% are turning out, and then the registers, the polls will already come pretty close to predicting who is in the front line. If we could step that up to 60 to 65%, would that be astronomical difference, and there would be a huge balance?
There would be, but as you said, people need to start getting engaged in the process. Sign up with your party, start attending the meetings, start putting your views and opinions forward, understand how they work, and then you start to create a platform for how you want things to change. That's what the party is there for. You know, if people are not engaging in that process, it's always, more difficult to make change when you're standing outside, banging on the door. It's a simple process. There's no difficulty in it. It's all done online. It's all digitally done. There's no paper kind of filling in applications and so on. You can become a member of a party, any party, in 60 seconds. It's that simple. And then you start. Now, once you start to attend those meetings and you then come and have an opinion that, nothing will change, nothing's going to happen. I've been attending branch meetings, blah, blah, blah. There's 20 of us that go there and it's all the same, different conversation. But until those conversations or till those people start attending those arenas, we can't impact change. It's very difficult. It's very difficult. You can do your bit as an elected member. You can make representation of your own wards, your own communities, like mine here for Stonygate and so on. But you become a single voice, and it's very difficult. If the community want to see things happen, they have to get involved. That's the only way we can make change. And your vote is very valuable. It's very valuable.
Of course, now we're going to move on to something very important. For our social conditions in the city, jobs is a key factor, right? If we have people in jobs, we will have a better social environment, right? If people are not in jobs, we'll create the wrong social environment in the city, and that will affect many factors: your mental health, your crime statistics, and your health and well-being. And the knock-on effects of every one person who's not in a job are astronomical. And when people ask me, how can that be that if one person is out of a job, it costs the government £250,000? And when I explain to them those 4 factors, that is what is meant by the knock-on effect, right? So, for example, if one person, he commits a crime, there are not one policeman involved, but there are up to 20 to 40 people involved in that one crime, across the judiciary, across the social services, across the police, and then not forgetting the victim and the family. Now, the knock-on effect, that is where the figure 250,000 comes from. The person who has been perpetrated, the person who's had the crime set upon him, his family, they can suffer mental health, they need help, they need support. So this is where the figure comes from, that every one person out of a job costs the economy £250,000 per annum. Is that a shocker or not?
It's a shock to
right?
hear that figure, absolutely.
Yeah. Of course, it takes a lot of research, to come out with that. It's not an easy thing to do here, right?
Obviously, you've been doing your homework.
Yeah, to have a day job and then to come out with all. Of course, here at Radio Haj, we say data is power, data is king. Yeah? Knowledge plus data equals what, brother, Master, Kirk Master?
A lot of information.
I'm telling you, it is PMS, right?
Go on.
Is the PMS or the SMP, yes, or the MSP, spin it as you wish. The PMS is power, money, and success.
Okay.
Or the SMP is success, money, and power. So data and the knowledge, you add them together equals that. This is the mathematics of today's world that we live in.
I'll have to remember that one.
Right? You got to be quick with this now, because you are now competing with the digital world where while you're thinking about it, somebody else has done it already. So many times when we're on these programs, somebody's at home sat there testing you, doing the Google search, and then they're having a go at you if you get it wrong, right? So you got to be ahead of the game.
That's good. That's good. Good competitive.
You got to be ahead of the game, and that's what it's all about. So that's why I tell everybody that we must equip ourselves with the right knowledge. You mix that up, you add that up with the right data, and you will go ahead. Now, if you go for a job, you don't employ that rule, you don't deploy that rule, you ain't going to get the job, because 1,000 people are going to be up there, right? So today, all of you, how many of you know about the ESF? Are you familiar with the ESF? Yeah? The ESF is almost finished now, because we're out of Brexit now. Yeah? The European Social Fund, brothers and sisters, this is a fund that the government, like the city council, would have to put a bid in for it. And they were successful in achieving quite a lot of money, £2 million in funding, right? And then the council topped it up by 1.1 million. Now this is to get young people in work. So there's a new community hub that has been set up, right, in the city centre to help people get into job. That is to encourage youth employment. So this is the seriousness the city and the national government are taking upon this idea of putting young people into work.
Yeah.
Right? And of course, we have our own ideas how the private entrepreneurs are dealing with this problem. And the city and the national government have got many schemes as well. So I urge everybody in the community to get involved in this process, because tomorrow your grandchildren and your children are going to be part of that system, looking for a job.
Yeah, the youth employment hub is an important one for the city, as you said, with the population being quite young of the city. So they can go there, they can do CV writing, they can write applications, they can look for employment, they can get advice from some of the staff that are in there, and it's all tailored around young people. So it's not this kind of daunting environment that they have to go in. It's all tailored around their needs. Jobs are posted regularly. There's jobs up there that are kind of more specific to their age group. It's about making them work ready. You would be amazed at how many people don't have a CV. You'd be amazed at how many people don't know where to look for a job. They think the job centre is the place you go and look for a job. And it is. But there are other places, like you said, using that acronym SWIFTY. On social media platforms now, there's jobs all over the place. So it's making young people more skilled to be able to access employment opportunities and making sure that they're ready to access these employment opportunities.
So all of you, every one of us have got at least a minimum of 5 WhatsApp groups, and each one of these groups may carry 50 to 250 participants. So when we even look for a job or you have something to offer, if you're selling a lawnmower, you're very quick to put that on there. But if you have a skill set for yourself or your sister, your brother, your friend, you put it on your groups and you create awareness and you will find somebody. Otherwise, often you will see that you'll go on the free job sites and you'll get 100 recruiters contact you. And these recruiters, they will put people forward to you, offer you, I've got the best guy, he was absolutely brilliant or she was brilliant, and everybody's brilliant. And they want to take their commission and run.
Yeah.
And that is not the way forward. So we have, in the private enterprise, we work in a different way. We take 20 people, we capacity build them, we go and seek what are they good at. If you can't take a dentist, and I can't say to you, Kirk, can you go and see this optician when you've got a toothache, can I?
Not really.
Is it possible?
I wouldn't be
Yeah,
impressed with
you'll
that.
go to your dentist and says, "I got a problem. I can't see with my glasses. I need different set of glasses." And he'll say to you, "I am a dentist. I am not an optician."
You're stereotyping then about dentists.
Well, you know what? I just like to practice the accents. We have 40 diversities, in the city. So we got to get good at understanding different
All
accents.
languages, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. So this is what's happening. So we capacity build the individuals and we put them in the right direction. Now, if a young kid comes and he says, "I want to pursue a career to be a forklift driver." Now, you may think, some of you might think that's not a skilled job, but I can tell you it is a very, very skilled job, right? A driver who's trained, if he's not trained, he can bring damage to himself, to other people, and he can damage a whole factory by bringing a whole racking down in a factory, right? That's why it's a skilled job.
It is.
Yeah.
And very sought after as well.
Exactly. Now, right now, all of you listening in, I'm very much concerned about the number of people out of work. The country right now has a huge shortage of lorry drivers,
Yeah.
right? There is no drivers. Every food store, like Aldi, Netto, Morrison's, Asda, Sainsbury's, Tesco, they can't get their deliveries in. They're
It's
paying
true.
top money.
I heard
Now, where's all the drivers gone?
just last week I was hearing that some firms are paying up to £50 an hour now for drivers to drive these Class 1, Class 2 vehicles
Yeah.
because of the shortage. So it is an
So,
issue. This is about having a vision, though.
Yeah. After COVID now, there's been dramatic change, hasn't there? And all of us have to adapt to that change.
Oh, huge. And that's why I say, things are predictable. Some things aren't predictable, but it's what are we putting in place for our youngsters, for our next set of communities. The communities are changing hugely.
Yeah.
As you say, it's getting younger. So what you would have grown up in, the kind of environment, the
Yes,
normal
yes.
behaviours,
I
etc.,
can see
are
you.
changing.
I can see you're taking me back to my time, back in the 30s and 40s.
I didn't think that long, but fair enough if you wanted to put that out there.
Right. So, guys, a lot of things happen in the community every day. You got to keep up. And there's the issue with the homeless fund now. We've just the city has been blessed with £2.4 million to assist the homeless sector.
Yeah.
So that is something everyone should look into also and give your feedback. And if you have ideas, if you have anything that you are doing in that sector, come forward, come with it and share it. And this fund may be considered for your project in the city.
Yeah, it's an important fund. That I think that the city spends over £5 million a year already in this area.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, because of some of the things you mentioned and COVID overlaying that as well, it's going to produce more problems for people.
So excuse me, brothers and sisters, you're listening to Zed on the Radio Haj. If we're going too fast for you, then I apologize for that. It's rare to catch Kirk Master, Councillor Kirk Master here on the program at Drivetime. And when we do catch him, we have 100 things to discuss with him. So we have to go at rocket speed. So the low wages.
Yeah. The low wages have always been a thing. It's not new through this COVID pandemic and then the boohoo scandal that happened here in the city. It's part of an industry. And part of that industry goes all the way back to DWP and people claiming benefits and cash in hand, and they don't want to be on the books, they don't want to be official, they don't want to pay PAYE and national insurance. So it's not just a matter of an employee saying to a person, I am only going to pay you £3 an hour and so on. There's a whole raft of things wrapped around that. And you can't deal with one in isolation. You have to deal with them. There are rogue employers out there, absolutely, in this city and other cities, and when we catch them and find them, we need to call them out. But also within our communities, we know who they are.
Of course, our
The factories know who they
Leicester
are.
East MP, Claudia, she is doing a lot of noise on this particular matter.
Yeah, she's making a lot of noise nationally around this, and rightly so.
That's right.
Because it's really difficult for us to say we're community conscious and we want to improve and make things better, but we're okay to turn a blind eye when we know our friends are paying low wages in factories, not paying minimum wage, working in shoddy conditions. Our friends who have properties and so on are treating them with disrespect and disrepair. They don't care as long as you're paying the rent. We can't turn a blind eye. It's not just authorities' responsibility. We in the community know who these people are.
Yeah.
We in the community know where our younger brothers and sisters and our cousins and our aunts and our and uncles are working. Why don't we do something about it as well? You know, it's not one person's fix. And that's sometimes the kind of mantra that we get caught up on is, oh, it's Zed's responsibility. Let Zed fix it. It's not Zed's responsibility. We all can play a role, you know, and unfortunately it happens. But when we find it, we should call it out. We should call it out because it's not fair.
Of course, there's also another fund that has been announced by the council, which the council again are putting forward to the vulnerable groups, right, in the city. So a vulnerable group would be, if you have someone in the family who's autism, for example, is a vulnerable group. There are many, many vulnerable groups, right? And there's funding available for that as well.
Yeah, those with disabilities, those that
exactly.
need additional support. All of that is kind of factored into the COVID support and the grants that are being made available.
Of course, awareness of all of this is absolutely important for everyone in the community. So it's your right to tap into those funds, right? If you don't know about them, other people who do know about them, they will be successful and you will lose out. So all of you in the various service support sectors, the charity sectors, do engage. Get your name down and get involved. Be part of the system. Of course, now I'm going to talk about another subject that you have some considerable expertise in, is the knife crime, right? There's a new strategy on board for knife crime. Could you just talk to our listeners on that?
Well, it's around serious violence and knife crime because they obviously go hand in hand. So we've been working on a strategy now for a long period of time. In fact, COVID was a big hindrance to us going live with this. And we involved a number of community groups from right across the city, so Braunston, Saffron Lane, New Park, St Matthews, Highfields, bottom end of Belgrave Road. So where the stats were showing us that mainly the incidents are. And we involved community groups in that, and we created a steering group around these groups so that it was driven and led by the community. It's okay, myself or officers sitting in these ivory towers writing strategy to land on the ground with grassroots groups. And when they arrive, 9 times out of 10 people go, what the hell is this? This is not reality. You know, this is not what I see on a day-to-day basis. So by bringing them in, we were able to let them design the strategy, let them guide the strategy and get the information that was relevant and where we thought we could take it. So it's live now. There's £500,000 approximately been associated to it. We've got a number of partners right across the statutory sector and also within the local community groups. And hopefully it will have an impact. Is this strategy going to solve serious violence and knife crime? No, it isn't. You know, let's not try and kid ourselves that this is going to be a panacea to a major problem. As I said, related to the low wages, these incidents are happening in our communities, right in front of us. We know the groups, we know the individuals, we know the families, we know the people, we know where it happens. We all have a role within this. We want to live in safe communities. All of us want to live in safe communities. You know, we don't want these kind of incidents to be occurring around us. So it's a start. And it's a good thing that we're doing it. We were a bit ahead of the curve in regards to getting it done. COVID put us on the back foot a bit, but we're here now. We've arrived. So, you know, let's see. The more people are involved in it, the better from our perspective.
Of course, this is a subject where everyone in the community has got to become aware. Is it the father to blame, the mother to blame, the teacher to blame, your imam in the mosque to blame, your gurdwara, your temple, or any of the religious establishment to blame? Or is it the police? Is it the councillor? Is it the MP? No. It's everybody. Everybody has got to become aware, and everybody's got to work together.
It's not
right?
It's not blame. It's what you say, aware. It's people being conscious.
Yeah.
You know, being conscious to what's going on, not turning a blind eye. And I'm not asking people to go and confront these groups of young people or gangs or whatever. That's not the way to do this.
No, not at all.
But if we come together and provide different kinds of opportunities for these young people, hopefully that will be the change.
So now we don't have much time now. We're going to move on to another subject which we call here at the radio HISR. Are you familiar with HISR?
No.
Yeah?
No.
HISR is the letters refer to, I don't say it with any laughter or smile or any happiness at all. It means historic, institutional, systemic racism across the board in our community. And I worry because we have 40 plus diversities here. And back in the late 70s, early 70s, 60s, 50s, when we came here, we were only 2 or 3 different diversities here, right? And if you're an Asian or you were a Afro-Caribbean, that was about it, really. But now it's no longer like that. We have practically the world here in this city and every other city in England or throughout the UK. And the worrying factor is that if so many reports have come out in different sectors, in the sports sector, in each particular sport, rugby, football, cricket, and then in the professional sector, these reports churned out. Let's give them a name, Scarman report, Stephen Lawrence report, Lord this report, and McPherson report. There's so many come to head right now. And then we still, we got this issue here in our communities. How can Leicester deal with this and show the world an example of the highest level of cohesion and diversity? How can we do that?
I think Leicester's already in a good place where that is. It's not in the perfect place, but it's better than most parts of the country. You don't see the blatant contention that other parts of the country do between different communities, be it Eastern Europeans, the Asians, the black community, whatever it is. You don't see the obvious. Now, I'm not saying there aren't contentions, but you don't see it obviously. Where in other parts of the city, it's obvious. People from different communities don't cross roads because they don't go into that side of the street and so on. We don't have that here, but we have underlying things. A lot of these, for me, are cultural things that we've grown up with, you know, that we've seen our elders be part of, and the things that they've told us, and so on and so on. With the younger generation, I think it's becoming more diluted.
So what you're saying, from my understanding, doing a little bit of mind mapping and body language and picking your brain, looking you in the eye, is it's no longer color, creed or race. It's more a cultural adjustment either way.
I think there's a lot of cultural stuff that comes into it, even religiously. You know, so we grow up with a particular environment and a particular narrative wrapped around us. And because that's what we've become accustomed to, that's the normal.
So, of course...
But that doesn't make it right or doesn't make it wrong. It's then about adjusting to what else there is out there. You know, we can't live in these silos because it doesn't work like that. Society doesn't work like that. With going back to your reference of the digital society, you can be in the other side of the world at a click of a button. You can get information from the other side of the world in the click of the button. We don't have to live in that siloed information of one person said something and everybody's follows. We're not sheep. We don't need to do that. So things are changing. I think with the younger generation, it's very different. But there are some real issues around equality, diversity, and blatant racism. You know, I faced it myself. My whole life. Being dual heritage, I faced it
in your sports as well, haven't you?
I faced it through sports. I faced it within my own community.
Yes.
You know, so I know what it's like. I know what it feels like. I've lived it, and I still live it.
So you have just exemplified in a few moments the HISR, right? You've just done that.
The historic,
institutional, systemic
racism.
I do pray to God that you will remember that always.
I'll try and remember the acronym.
HISR.
But the feeling's easier to live with. You know, it's a difficult one to live with, and I worry about our young people. You know, we have some great groups in our community doing some fantastic work. Some of them being on this radio station, and they host conversations on this radio station about young people, 7, 8, 9, 10, being racially abused in sports arenas, in sports fields, and so on and so on. It's happening. So
we have taken the view here at Haj Radio that we really need to start with grassroots.
100%.
And all this data that has been collected over the last 50 years, we cannot have another decade to come out with another report, right, and create another body. We've had so many bodies created, the names have changed, the people have changed, but the facts have not changed.
A wise man once told me, change the new because you can never change the old.
Yeah, of course, absolutely. And that's the way forward, brothers and sisters. These are very, very touching subjects that we have talked about today. And each one of these subjects, they need more than an hour just to go through in great detail. And it cannot be done without your participation, without you becoming fully aware and involved in these discussions.
Get involved.
Don't expect for me or for Kirk to be the change. I want us all to be the change that we want to see in this world.
100%.
So it's a TFC, isn't it? Are you all ready for the TFC? Time for change.
Time for change. Communities, right? Politics, your local, your next door neighbor, your local shops, get involved.
So every one of us can drive the change. Every one of us 100%. Can do that, right? So brothers and sisters, I wish to thank Brother Kirk Master joining us today. And I'd like us all to make dua that Allah make it easy for all of us. Amen. And we go forward and we all take part and be part of the system and drive the change. Jazakallah khair from me and from